Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into an absolute epic. We're not just looking at a standard corporate history here. We're essentially unpacking the story of modern India's economic awakening. We are tracing the astonishing journey of Reliance Industries. It's a conglomerate that scaled to such monumental heights, it genuinely serves as the ultimate proxy for an entire nation's growth. We're going to break down exactly how this massive transformation happened, step by step, and let me tell you, it is a fascinating ride. All right, let's just jump right in and wrap our heads around this number, $124 billion. That is Reliance's gross revenue for the financial year 2025-26. And that's alongside a net profit that completely shattered the $10 billion mark. I mean, these figures are just staggering. We are talking about the very first Indian company to ever surpass the $120 billion revenue milestone. It establishes an almost incomprehensible scale of wealth and economic output. But staring at these massive 12-digit figures, it immediately begs a question. How on earth did a man, starting out in a tiny 350-square-foot room, build an empire that not only dominates global markets today, but actually mirrors the trajectory of an entire nation? How do you get from a crowded street corner to over $100 billion? Let's trace it all the way back to the very beginning. Part 1. This spice trader's dream. 1957 to 1977. So, picture this. It's 1957. A young Dhirubhai Ambani returns to India from Yemen. He has modest capital, sure, but absolutely mammoth aspirations. He actually started out just exporting spices to the Middle East, but he had this uncanny, almost prophetic ability to read where the market was heading. He realized pretty quickly that the future of Indian clothing wasn't going to be cotton. It was going to be polyester. So, he took a monumental risk. In 1966, he invested 28 lakh rupees to establish Reliance Textiles Industries. He built a synthetic fabrics mill in Naroda, Gujarat, and birthed the iconic VML brand. This wasn't just launching a new product, it was a massive pivot that changed the trajectory of his entire company forever. Now, his aggressive philosophy really boiled down to this one concept: backward integration. Basically, it meant taking total control of the entire supply chain. His logic was, if you're selling the fabric, well, you should be making the yarn. And if you're making the yarn, you should be manufacturing the raw materials that go into the yarn. It was all about owning every single step of the process, from the ground up straight to the consumer. Part 2. Igniting the equity cult through the 1970s and 80s. Okay, so by 1977, Reliance needed some massive capital to keep expanding. But India's license Raj meant traditional nationalized banks were highly risk-averse. They simply weren't in the business of handing over cash for grand, audacious visions. So what did Dhirubhai do? He executed an absolute genius pivot. He bypassed the traditional banks entirely and went directly to the Indian middle class. The 1977 Reliance initial public offering was a true watershed moment. Over 58,000 retail investors participated, and the whole thing was oversubscribed 7 times. He literally transformed the Indian stock market from this exclusive, closed-off club into a wealth creation vehicle for the everyday citizen. And with that middle-class capital secured, the 1980s became this period of just relentless, rapid expansion. Following that 1977 IPO, Reliance commissioned the Patalganga polyester plant in 1982. They aggressively pushed into petrochemicals and plastics. This integration totally insulated them from supply chain shocks and secured these massive profit margins. By 1988, against all the odds of a tightly regulated economy, the revenues crossed the colossal 1,000 crore mark. Part 3. Succession and the Great Split. From 2000 to 2005. The new millennium brought some incredible highs, like commissioning the world's largest grassroots refinery in Jamnagar in a record 36 months, right alongside these massive deep-sea gas discoveries. But 2002 also brought deep tragedy. Dhirubhai Ambani passed away, and he did so without a will. What followed was a bitter, highly publicized succession battle between his 2 sons, Mukesh and Anil. It was so intense, it actually rattled the Indian stock market. Ultimately, their mother, Kokilaben, had to step in. She brokered a highly complex demerger to perfectly divide the empire. Mukesh retained control of the legacy cash cow businesses, so oil refining, petrochemicals, and gas exploration. Anil took over what were considered the new age businesses at the time: telecommunications, power generation, and financial services. Part 4. Sparking a Digital Revolution, 2006 to 2019. Now firmly at the helm of his side of the business, Mukesh Ambani steered heavily toward the consumer. He launched Reliance Retail in 2006, scaling it incredibly aggressively from small groceries to massive hypermarkets, until it became India's absolute largest retailer. But he had an even bigger, frankly wilder trick up his sleeve. Imagine pivoting from oil and groceries to launching a massive telecom network with a staggering $30 billion initial investment. That was Reliance Jio in 2016. Mukesh didn't just want to enter the Indian telecom market, he wanted to completely upend it by offering free voice calls and dirt-cheap 4G data. And the impact of that $30 billion gamble? Absolutely seismic. Before Jio launched in 2016, India ranked 155th in the world in mobile data consumption. Just think about that. Within a single year, post-Jio, they catapulted to number 1. Reliance Jio single-handedly democratized the internet. It brought hundreds of millions of Indians online practically overnight and instantly sparked this massive boom in digital payments, e-commerce, and the broader gig economy. Part 5. The Future, Green and Global, 2020 to 2026. Entering this decade, Reliance actually pulled in over $20 billion in pandemic-era investments from global tech titans like Meta and Google. That move made them the very first Indian company to cross a $200 billion market cap. Today, this single ecosystem boasts 524 million Jio subscribers and almost 400 million registered retail customers. In a nation of 1.4 billion people, this company touches almost every aspect of daily life, from the food you buy to the clothes you wear to the screen you're probably watching this explainer on right now. Their consumer footprint is absolutely unprecedented. But here's the thing, they aren't stopping at digital and retail, not even close. Mukesh Ambani's next ambitious pivot is the Dhirubhai Ambani Green Energy Giga Complex. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar initiative aggressively expanding into solar, hydrogen, and compressed biogas. The goal here is massive. They want to transform what has historically been an oil and gas giant into the world's largest bioenergy company, with the ultimate aim to achieve a net zero carbon footprint by 2035. So when you put all of these pieces together, you start to see exactly why Reliance is considered a true national proxy. I mean, they contributed a massive 2.16 lakh crore rupees to the national exchequer in FY26 alone. They're targeting up to $150 billion in exports by 2032. They are literally driving the digital and green transformation of a nation of 1.4 billion people at a truly global scale. This is not just a business, it is the economic engine of modern India. And that brings us to the core philosophy that has driven this entire machine for decades. What is good for India is good for Reliance. It's a simple quote, but a profoundly powerful one. This ethos has anchored the company from sparking the retail equity culture back in the 1970s to bringing the internet to the masses in 2016, all the way to today's incredibly ambitious green energy goals. So, I'm going to leave you with this final thought to ponder as we wrap up this explainer today. Does any other company in the entire world mirror its home country so closely? From a 350-square-foot trading room to a digital and energy titan, the story of Reliance really is the story of India's rise on the global stage. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. I hope this journey gave you a crystal clear understanding of this multi-generational epic. Keep learning, and I will catch you in the next one.